Hi guys, my name is Dylan and today we are back to another normal sharing series and we'll discuss about quite a hot topic which is Malaysia's budget 2025. The budget was announced 1 week ago. I briefly read through it but I didn't want to jump into a conclusion because I feel that there are still things that needs to be digested. And when a budget is always out, right, some people are happy, some are not happy, then they will be like bashing online, saying that negative things or whatsoever. But I kind of took my time to really just draft out a summary based on what I know and what I feel that is important. The things that I roughly gotten from the budget, from what our PM's speech. Okay. Yeah. By the way, before we start, right, I'm just briefly explaining through, or from my point of view, on a consumer standpoint. I'm not the specialist or what. So maybe if there's anything that is debatable, do let me know in the comment section below. Maybe we can discuss about it. Alright, let's start. So the first thing that I've gotten to know, it's a basic introduction, will be our GDP growth. We are projected to grow between 4.5% to 5.5% in 2025. So I believe compared to 2024, they were expecting around 4.3 to 5.3. So there is an upward growth that I think is quite good. Of course, that's a projection. And then Malaysia's target to reduce the fiscal deficit from 4.3% in 2024 to 3.8% and of GDP basically. So, and I think that it's actually quite good in the sense that if you were to see how our government is doing now, right, what they are trying to do is trying to soften up or take away some subsidy. And I know a lot of us will be complaining like, hey, why take my petrol, why take my diesel, subsidy and whatsoever, right? But if you were to check, right, our debt in the World Bank across the whole world, we are actually quite high in terms of that. Yeah. So I think it's quite good that they are trying to reduce it. That's the main target. It's not to please Malaysians, but to help Malaysia in terms of our economy, right? And revenue-wise, we are expected to collect around 340 billion ringgit in 2025, which means there will be more tax. Just from this sentence, I will know there will be more tax implemented in 2025. And basically, our debt forecast will reduce from 85 billion to 80 billion. And it's actually quite good as well. So, okay, this is like the rough introduction, and I think it's more inclining towards us growing in terms of GDP and just reducing our debt. And how to reduce is definitely by government implementing more tax, which we all don't like. But then, what's the choice? We have so much debt across the world. Okay, and the next very interesting thing that will be housing loan interest relief. Okay, so some of you guys have DM'd me or even texted me like, what is actually this thing? What does it mean? When our PM is talking about budget, right, it's still a very surface, very preliminary thing that it's not being dealt in depth. So from what my understanding is, if you were to buy a house, basically they're giving subsidy in terms of income tax, personal income tax wise. So if you buy a house that is below 500,000, you will get a 7,000 ringgit tax relief per year for 3 years. And if you were to buy the property is between 500,000 to 750,000, it will be a 5,000 ringgit tax relief for 3 years as well. This house cannot generate rental income, which means they don't allow speculation or investment property. It's mainly for your own stay property. Because I think people are always complaining property price is expensive, it's very difficult for youngsters to buy in. Hence, beside this loan, this relief, they are also implementing, giving more, I would say, subsidies in terms of loan from the government, and it's easier for people to buy on Rumah Whip and etc. So basically, what is the summary of this part is they give 7K if you buy a property below 500,000 for 3 years relief. They give you 5,000 per year for 3 years consecutive if you buy between 500,000 and 750,000 property price. And this house can only be valid on the 1st of January 2025 to December 31st, 2027. So if you ask me this, will it increase the sales of, pushing the sales of property? I think yes, in a sense a little bit, but it's definitely not a game changer. Alright, it's just to relieve people, to encourage more people, stimulate the sales of property, especially own stay property. But likewise, I don't think that it's really a game changer for property sector. Alright, the next main changes that I saw, that I took note, it's the medical and education insurance relief increased from 3K to 4K. And this is a very good thing because I believe like now we are paying our insurance policy is actually increasing as well because medical fees is always increasing. and I would say education as well. We focus more on educating sending our kids to a better school or whatsoever, right? So these are all a better relief, okay? And PRS relief extends to 2030. This one is also something that I expected, because PRS is something that it's like, we do know that EPF is not enough for our retirement. So having PRS with you, it encourages people to dump in money inside, and it acts like a voluntary EPF kind of thing, but it's PRS. So it extends 3,000 tax relief on it. SSPN expected education will extend the relief as well, 8,000 ringgit to 2027. And then the health, sports, elderly care, they expand the scope to parental and grandparent care as well. So this is something that is more on the personal relief side. I would say the next more controversial one will be the dividend income tax. Okay, so basically, right, 2% tax will be implied on dividend income when your income exceeds 100,000 your dividend. So this gives exemption from dividends that are from overseas or government funds like your EPF, your Amanah Saham, all of these are exempted. But if you were to buy your Maybank stocks, your blue chips in Malaysia, it will be taxed if your dividend is more than 100,000. So this is, I mean, just basically except from this, right? You know who government is targeting. It's mainly top tier income, T4, T1 or T5 or T10, I don't know. Yeah, they're mainly targeting that, because in order to get a dividend of 100,000 per year, right? Assuming your dividend is 6%, you can just do the calculation how much money they are investing in the stock market. So that is one thing that I believe government is targeting to help bridge the gap between rich and poor. And then not only that, dividend income is not only just for stocks, but also for business income. So for those who are in the accounting world, or basically Sendirian Berhad world, they will know when you declare a revenue and you deduct all the expenses and etc., then you pay all the tax, everything, right? The residue or the net profit of it will be declared as dividend to shareholders or to owners of the businesses. So in a way, if you are declaring this dividend, it's also taxable, 2% on it. So yeah, I mean, from last year, they've implemented that those who are doing freelance or getting commissions or service in the service line, if your income exceeds 100,000, there is a 2% tax as well. And then now they are aiming dividend income, which is from businesses or from stocks. So we know again who is government aiming. Is it good for the economy? I would say yes, but I believe people with that kind of income, they'll be complaining. But that's a fact, because we want to collect more money to solve our debt issue, which then encourages our economy to grow. Okay? And then this point that is being all circulated around the whole social media, right? It's the RON 95 petrol subsidy. And this one is a very vague one, because I myself, I don't know how is it gonna apply. Basically, because we are always having this blanket subsidy of government doing subsidy for RON 95 and etc. So our oil is always very cheap. So now they are targeting to reduce the subsidy from mid 2025, and this subsidy, when they'll be targeting the top 15% of the population. So I don't know how are they going to judge based on this top 15%. Because when we pay for the petrol, we are using cash or card or different methods. So how is this going to work? I'm not too sure yet. I believe they have their own ways. But this subsidy that they are trying to take away from the top 15% of the population, the amount will be allocated to support 85% of the other populations. I think aside from trying to again target the top 15 or top 5 or top 10% in Malaysia, they are also encouraging more on EV cars, going green, going electric, mainly reducing the carbon output. I don't know, is it true? Carbon footprint, and then going green. I think this is also definitely one way, and it's bound to happen sooner or later. It's definitely gonna happen. So I believe this is something that everyone is gonna complain, like how is it gonna happen? Then oil is gonna be expensive. Then EV cars coming in, where's your charging port? It's not even enough, and etc. So things will happen, but I think let the government decide how is it going to phase out. I believe they will have their own plan, I hope. Okay, and then the next thing that I realized will be SME, business and green initiatives. So the one thing I jotted down about this is government realized that SME or medium-sized enterprise or Sdn Berhad, they can help Malaysia in reducing a lot of burden. This PPP Master Plan is not mistaken, it's called Public-Private Partnership. Basically, it's like, I think the reasoning behind it is, for example, I have a deal, I need to maybe create a factory, okay, but government is now in debt now, so I need to use your resources or your expertise, SME or medium size or some Sdn Berhad or whatsoever, right? I need your expertise so we can partner together to build this factory or build this area. I think this is what they are trying to do, which is very good, because like if you were to look before that, they are targeting on dividend tax on businesses or what, right? Initially, but if you look over here, now they are actually giving chances for businesses to join venture in a way with government, and they are expected to create around 900,000 jobs by 2030. So it's actually very good. It's actually a very good way of implementing a business collaboration method, because from what I know, way back then, right, it's very difficult to take a government project. But now, looking at this, I think that it's going to a right path where business owners can collaborate with governments lah. Okay, do let me know if this is wrong thinking, but I do believe it's actually quite good. And then they are giving more green technology financing, around 1 billion ringgit allocated until 2026, which means it encourages people to do more businesses that are more green, more AI based, and etc. And then something about property is the Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone. Yeah. So they're expected to give special incentives for high value jobs over there. This is mostly related with businesses and properties. And I believe it will spark some fireworks or some light over there, some fire over there. Not just in terms of property, but in terms of businesses trying to go into that area. Because, like I said, Johor JB side, right, it's quite, I would say, undervalued in terms of the businesses over there, because last time you're only relying on Singapore, but we don't really rely a lot in a sense, and for Johor we don't have much tourism over there, so maybe they're trying to make it as another KL in a sense. And I am really excited to see how this JSSEZ is happening. Okay, the next thing will be new digital incentives and tax breaks. So basically they're allowing full capital allowance on ICT equipment over 2 years, and then a one-time relief available within 3 years for machine reliefs. So it's also giving more reliefs, more breather for companies that are into machineries and IT. And then they are doing some SME loan agreement. They are giving 100% exemption. And then yeah. So if we were to look at it, right, they are encouraging more businesses to start. They're encouraging more employers, more people to start some business, some small businesses. But they are taxing more on those big businesses or medium big businesses on the dividends, and maybe taking up some of the charging more on carbon footprint or whatsoever. So it's a give and take, and I believe it's a good thing in a sense, but I may be different, because I may be wrong, because I'm not talking from a very successful businessman that is earning millions per year or what. I'm not too sure, but definitely will affect them. Okay. Alright, the last thing will be that you'll notice is tax and SST expansion. So basically, service tax will be expanded to new commercial services from 1st of May 2025, and higher rates will be charged on non-essential premium goods. So I think this is mainly something like more onto the high-end value goods, like your high-end cars, your luxury bags, luxury cars, and etc. They will be implementing more sales tax on that. Again, targeting the rich and giving it back to the poor. This is mainly what they are doing. Just, of course, I may left out some of the main points, but I've been going through this again and again. Like, if you were to look from the government's perspective, they are definitely targeting the rich and trying to giving more subsidy to the poor. So if you are someone who is struggling, I think it's very good. But then if you're someone who is already there, then you will be taxed more. So I think it's good for the economy, to be honest, because if the rich and poor gap just keeps getting wider, right, which is bound to happen definitely if we are moving forward as a successful country, you know, it's bound to happen. But now they're trying to subsidize and give it back to more to the poor to prevent this from happening too soon. Okay, and social problem is bound to happen. Like for example, maybe your crime rate will be higher, and you know, your homeless people who are homeless will be along the streets, you know, just like in most of the advanced countries. So they're trying to give subsidy. And one thing I like about Malaysia is, you know, if you look at other countries, right, let's talk about property first. If you look in other countries that don't really have subsidy for, you know, those who are B40 or what to buy a subsidized house, no, it's actually very rare. And government is like always taking care of this group of people, which is one of the things that I quite respect lah for Malaysia's government. So just to summarize everything, I think that this year's budget, it's quite okay, to be honest. Some tax here and there or what, which is bound to happen, but they are going to the right path, in my opinion. And I read through some of the news from, you know, some of the CEOs of few banks. They are quite positive on what is the budget over here. And so let's see how it goes. And I really hope Malaysia can be a, you know, more advanced and better country moving forward. So let's persevere. Let's just try to make the best out of everything lah. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I like this budget, in my opinion. I really like it. And if there's anything that you want to know, want us to talk about, want us to discuss, do let me know in the comment section below, and maybe we can talk about it. So I think that's all for this episode. Thank you so much. Do like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next video. Bye bye.